Fight for the Iron Kingdoms as a warcaster. Take control of the mighty jacks, arcane devices, and dark sorceries to bring the fight to the War Machine Hub on beastsofwar.com. Progress comes to a world of magic as science and the arcane combine to make marvels. Meet steampunk inventors and orc mystics at the Volsung Hub on beastsofwar.com.
Hi guys, and welcome to day 4 of the 40k Mechanicus week here on beastsofwar.com. Myself and AJ, or shall I say AJ and I, or AJ leading I, through the myriad of options and all the cool aspects of the Mechanicus books. We have 2 Mechanicus books that we're covering this during this themed week. We have the Cult Mechanicus and of course the Skitarii. This episode, well this double episode, what you're watching, and the additional episode that we have over at beastsofwar.com for our backstage members, you're very welcome to join, is called Loud and Proud, because we're going to be focusing in on the fast attack and heavy support options. So AJ, without further ado, I'm just going to get stuck in. So guys, if you're following at home, this is the book we're going to start with. It's the Skitarii book. So let's get her opened up to we see. So the Skitarii, AJ, have what, 1 fast attack option and 2 heavy support.
1 fast attack, 2 heavy support.
So their fast attack option is this guy here. He's called the Sydonian Dragoons, and he's on this kind of lanky-looking walker thing. And then their heavy support options is they have the Ironstrider Ballistarii and the Onager Dunecrawlers, a personal favourite of my own. Kicking off, we'll start with the Sydonian Dragoons, okay? Fast attack option. What can you tell me about the background of this particular unit?
These guys, again, following that kind of weird, creepy kind of aspect of the Adeptus Mechanicus. These guys are actually mounted upon probably the closest the Adeptus Mechanicus have ever come to a perpetual motion engine.
Right.
So an engine that is so efficient it almost powers itself. They were, again, discovered or created by quite an eccentric tech priest who, because of going out and actually creating something, the other tech priests became very suspicious of him, and he met a rather grisly end. It sort of hints that he took his own life, but maybe,
maybe not quite the case.
Maybe not quite that case. He just sort of disappeared. So it's kind of a cool unit. As always, it wasn't necessarily created as a weapon of war. It was created more as a prototype to experiment with this perpetual motion and to see if they could create something that could keep going. But it has been turned into almost their cavalry element, which is the Sidonian Dragoon.
Now, I want to talk a bit about the model, okay? Because it looks like it's the same chassis. So I'll just bring up the picture. So that's the Dragoon there, but it looks like the same chassis as the Ballistarii. Can you make both of them either option from the same model kit?
Yeah, you can make the same. Again, all of the kits in this codex, except for the Onager Dunecrawler, can actually make 2 units. So the Vanguard can make the Vanguard, or the Skitarii troops can make the Vanguard or the Rangers. The Sicarians can make the Sicarian Infiltrators, the Sicarian Ruststalkers. The Ironstrider can make the Ironstrider Ballistarii or the Sidonian Dragoon. And it's just then the Onager that has its own kit. Because it's its own unit. It's really nice because it fills out those bits boxes. As well, which is lovely.
You get a lot of little leftovers, which would be useful for a Mechanicus army.
Very much so.
For doing little tweaks and things.
And not even just a Mechanicus army, just any Imperial army. It could use those bits that, bionic arms, bionic legs, bionic heads. anything can be used. So they're really handy bits.
Let's have a quick look at the actual sprue in the model itself. So the sprue seems fairly straightforward, to be honest. I think this is just one of the sprues that comes in the box. So.
Yeah, this looks like we have elements of the Ballistarii. Let me see if we have another. Yeah, we have one with the Dragoon, I believe. Yes.
Yeah, we can see the torsos and yeah.
Yeah, now, I believe this is also the Dragoon as well. Now the Dragoon has the option of swapping out his Taser goad for the Jezile, which is a weapon we talked about a couple of episodes ago. It was the Radium one. So
yes.
It was kind of, again, feeds into that kind of Vanguard kind of approach. And it is a Vanguard that operates the Dragoon. So again, it emphasizes that getting in nice and close.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the stat line. Okay, so the Dragonians, the Dragonians Lagoon, the Sidonian Dragoon is weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4, strength 5, front, side, and rear armor 11, initiative 3, attack 3, hit points 2. It's a vehicle, a walker, open topped. Okay, so what are we looking at there? What does this mean for any of us that are just getting into the game?
So basically what we're looking at, so it's a walker. Walkers have certain advantages over other vehicles, i.e. tracked vehicles or wheeled vehicles, because they can move through terrain an awful lot easier.
Yeah.
They don't suffer, they move through like infantry would. They don't suffer the chance of being immobilized on a 1, for example. The other thing that kind of stands out against these is that it sort of makes them impervious to small arms fire. Boulders can't penetrate their armor, things like that there. So they're not impervious to weaponry, but there is a certain amount of weaponry that isn't able to affect them, which as a vehicle is great. Walkers also benefit from the special rule Hammer of Wrath, which we looked at with the Electro Priests.
Yeah.
So that just gives them an extra attack at the start of combat with their base strength. I think their base strength 5.
Yes, base strength of 5. Yeah.
So it's always nice just to have an extra. Something for free is always good. So it's just a nice little extra. The other thing is that walkers can be locked in combat, different to other vehicle types. So whenever you're in combat with a vehicle, you're going against its weapon skill as opposed to it always counting as weapon skill 1 or 0. So again, that's quite nice because if you go against a unit that maybe doesn't have as many weapons to equip or that are equipped against it, even if you can't wipe that unit out, you're going to tie them in for at least a turn.
Tie them up, yeah. Wargear, it's carrying a Taser lance, which you'll find on page 75.
We liked the tasers the other day, I think.
Yeah, so let's have a quick look at the Taser lance. So the Taser weapons, Taser lances have 2 profiles for strength. The first is used only on a turn in which the model charges. The second is used at all other times. So Taser lance, range dash 0, strength 3+ or 2+ during the charge. And it's type melee, joust, and taser. Okay, so taser, if we remember back, was when making an attack with a weapon that has a special rule, to hit roll of a 6 causes 2 additional hits on the target, which you then roll to wound. Joust is a specific rule for this model. A model attacking with a weapon of this special rule doubles its initiative characteristic on a turn in which it makes a successful charge. That's very cool. That's charging right down in.
Yeah.
Even the very weapon, if we bring it up here, have a look at this. Even the very weapon itself looks like a lance, a jousting lance. And getting stuck in there. The unit composition is 1. Okay. Yeah. It may include up to 5 additional Sidonian Dragoons for 45 points a model. That seems really kind of nice, actually.
It's fairly efficient points wise.
Yeah. Any model may replace its Taser lance with a Radium Jezile, which is on page 74, and that is the weapon that has a 30-inch range, strength X. AP 5, Now, Strength X, remind us, what does that mean?
Strength X, whenever you couple it with the Sniper special rule, means that you are always winding on 4-up. And also on a 6, you would get a rending shot.
It has Heavy 2, Rad Poisoning, and Sniper. And Rad Poisoning, if you remember, it has a special effect. To wound roll of a 6 causes 2 wounds on the target unit, regardless of the target's toughness, and each wound is allocated and saved separately. So just so
I'll just read you out the Sniper rule. It's worthwhile knowing. Snipers used to be a little bit more effective because they used to be able to. Let me see. Yeah. If a weapon has a Sniper special rule or is fired by a model with the Sniper special rule and rolls a 6 to hit, that shot is a precision shot. Wounds from precision shots are allocated against the model or models of your choice in the target unit, as long as it is in range and line of sight of the firer, rather than following the normal rules for wound allocation. A character that has precision shot special rule or is wounded by a precision shot can still make a lookout sir roll, and snapshots can never be precision shots.
Yeah, so these guys, if you get the right round of shooting, they can start to pick out characters with that sniper option.
It also sorry, just to cover that completely. If a weapon has a Sniper special rule or is fired by a model with the Sniper special rule, its shooting attacks always wound on a to wound roll of 4, as we said.
Yeah.
Regardless of the victim's toughness. In addition, any to wound roll of a 6 is resolved at AP2, so similar in a kind of vein to
so that AP2 once again is negating a save, an armor save, which is a good thing. It's a very good weapon.
It's worth noting as well that against vehicles, shooting attacks from weapons and models with the Sniper special rule count as Strength 4, so they can still target a vehicle. Sometimes they're not so good. Although, did I read that had armor being?
On the Rad Poisoning, no.
Oh, not on the.
No.
Sorry, the Arquebus, the one that the troops can
yes,
carry.
the Transjuric Arquebus has armor bane.
Yeah. Okay,
so,
cool.
it has a special rule as well, which you'll find just down here, and that is the Incense Cloud. A model with this special rule counts as obscured, receiving a 5+ cover save. So they're trying to encourage you to scoot these guys around in the open and not, obviously you want to keep them behind cover if cover's available, but there is an encouragement there to skite them out, to try and take a risk with them. If at 45 points a model, you can have 6 in a unit. It's kind of tasty. It is kind of tasty, I've got to say. That 5+ cover save, that's not too bad. And then there's possible things that you might be able to add that help with that cover save, or.
Yeah, I mean, if you're then in cover, does it? I don't know if it says. So it wouldn't necessarily stack with other cover saves.
Yeah.
However, you could. I've gone blank, but we could probably couple it with some of the other things that give you. Was there?
Yeah, I'm just thinking specifically about some of there was some special rules that might have given us
I think we were getting
boost
mixed
cover.
Up with the Cult Mechanicus.
It might be the Cult Mechanicus, actually. Yeah, but it's one of the aspects of the two Mechanicus armies is Skitarii have the Doctrinas. Okay, so. The Doctriner's imperatives there, whereas the Cult Mechanicus are running off the Canticles. Okay, well, anyway.
Although it's worth bearing in mind for later on in the series, in our tomorrow's episodes, we will be looking at that and how we can build in more synergy with the formations. So it's worth bearing in mind that we may be able to do something
along those lines. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about the wargear, Andrew. It's carrying a broad spectrum data tether and a searchlight. Now, the data tether you'll find on page 77. I'll just read it out to get the exact wording of this. All models in friendly units with the Skitarii faction that are within 6 inches of at least one model with a broad spectrum data tether and are affected by a Doctrina imperative, add 1 to the leadership characteristic on their profile until the start of your next turn. Note, this is not cumulative with the effects of an enhanced data tether, which you see opposite. And Searchlight, what does Searchlight give it?
So searchlights are essentially a useful tool if you're facing an enemy during night fight. Night fight is quite often in effect at the start of the game. You roll for it at the start of the game, whether you have night fight. I think it's on 1, 2, 3. It's night fight. 4, 5, 6. It's not. But then there's still an option. There's still a possibility that the end of the game will be night fight. Then, so it's kind of it's either at the start or at the end.
And what are the effects of night fight?
So night fight just gives you basically. I'll read it out for you because it's quite a useful rule to know. If a mission has the night fighting special rule, either player can declare that they wish to fight the battle at night. If either player does so, roll a d6 before deployment. On a roll of 4 or more, the night fighting special rule is in effect during game turn 1. Sorry, so swap around what I said. So 4 or more, the night fighting special rule is in effect during game turn 1. While the night fighting mission special rule is in effect, all units have the stealth special rule.
Yeah.
So that gives you +1 to your cover save. While the night fighting is effect. 6th edition it used to be up to a certain distance you were stealthed, and then over a certain distance you were shrouded.
So it's been simplified in the 7th edition.
It's been simplified down.
Okie dokie. Moving on, let's look at the next option that we have, where this is heavy support, one of the 2 choices. It is, of course, the Ironstrider Ballistarii. What do we know about the background to this guy, Andrew?
So where the Dragoons are the vanguard, always very much wanting to get in and move forward. These guys use that perpetual motion engine in a slightly different way. They use it to provide mobile fire support for the army.
So it's like a mobile, well, it's a gun platform,
It's a gun platform, yeah. Obviously, the Rangers, they're much more focused on long-range shooting, so that's why this one kind of is more geared around that. Okay, stat-wise, it's weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 4, strength 5, armor 11 all round, initiative 3, attacks 2, and hit points 2. So it's basically the same. It's just its weapon skill is a point less. It's the vehicle, walker, open top, so it's all those same rules as the Dragoon. However, wargear, it's got a twin-linked Cognis autocannon, and you can find that on page 72. So if you have one of them, you have the Cognis weapons. So a Cognis autocannon has got a range of 48 inches, strength 7, AP 4, so anything with a 4+ save or higher, you're going to forget about that. They're not going to get an armor save, and it's a heavy 2 Cognis. Now, that heavy 2 means that it fires 2 shots. 2 shots, yeah. But because it's heavy, normally they couldn't fire and move and fire. That's the other good thing about being on a
gun platform.
Vehicles are always counted as relentless. Now, obviously, with a tracked vehicle, up to a certain movement, you are allowed to fire one. You know, if you're stationary, generally it's all your weapons. If you move, it's one weapon, but you can snap fire the others, and so on and so forth. Walkers can only move as fast as infantry. Traditionally, anyway, these are a bit different because they have the Strider special rule.
Yes, there's a June Strider special rule, which gives them that extra 3 inches.
Extra 3 inches on their movement and their run and their assault. So that's an extra possibility of obviously you can't run an assault in the same turn, but it is a possibility of quite a big distance. Interestingly enough, that's maybe a mistake then noticed from one of the first shows we did when we talked about the June Strider rule. We were trying to measure across the board. Yeah. And we ran as well as we assaulted. So
we couldn't do all 3, could we?
Couldn't do all 3. A wee bit of wishful thinking there on my part. But certainly that will help give your Ballistarii, and indeed your
So the bottom line is that he can shoot freely, move freely. He's not encumbered in any way with that. Okay. So that's his Cognos autocannon. He also has the broad spectrum data tether that we covered and a searchlight. So that searchlight is basically the fact that they've got mechanical eyes and stuff going on. They're 55 points a model, and you can include up to an additional 5 into that unit. And there's nothing in the Skitarii Codex, you will have noticed, we started talking about this yesterday, there's nothing in the Codex that's trying to steer you away from larger units. Whereas in the Cult Mechanicus, there's benefits to be had having more smaller units. Within the Skitarii, that obvious benefit is not there. So you can start to think about maybe some larger units. Any model may replace its twin-linked Cognos autocannon with a twin-linked Cognos las cannon for 20 points per model. Now, the profile for the las cannon is a 48-inch range, so exactly the same range. However, Strength 9 AP2, Heavy 1 Cognos. And Cognos is when a model makes snapshots, including Overwatch, with a weapon that has the Cognos special rule, its ballistic skill is counted as being 2 instead of 1. So it's quite tasty. I don't know. I think I'd still stick with the autocannon. What do you think?
Yeah, it depends what your army as a whole is missing. The Skitarii in general don't have a particularly large amount of high strength weaponry.
Yeah.
So it might be that you do want that extra strength.
Because there could potentially be things on the battlefield that you just couldn't deal with otherwise.
No. Having said that, though, the autocannon is always a good choice. Strength 7 is kind of seen and perceived to be one of the best strengths of a weapon, because right up to toughness 5, you're always winning on 2s. You've got quite a good threat range in terms of vehicle armor, so you can go right up to armor 13 on a 6. It's not the best use of it, but you can fairly comfortable. A couple of those would probably do a couple of hull points off a vehicle at armor 12, possibly even getting rid of it. So there is options.
And you're getting double the amount of shots.
Having said that, with the weapon that you have, as it's twin linked, you're getting rerolls with that single shot. Plus, it's ballistic skill 4, so that's reroll on a 3 is quite likely to go off. Even if you're
50-50 chance anyway. So that gives you some good options. If you fail the first chance, you have a fairly good chance you're going to get it the next time. Okay. Moving on, remember we're going to be talking specifically about the battlefield roles of all of these units and their deployment options and the op select options. Op select is whenever these things start to maybe be out of place. They're not in the right place, or they've been caught up in something. What are the other options that we have for them? We're going to be talking about all of that in the XLBS show. But before we move on to the Cult Mechanicus book, I want to talk a little bit about this guy here, which is the Onager Dunecrawler. The model is fantastic.
It's a great model.
So here we have the model and some of the sprues. Now, I was blown away by the amount of components that are being packed into the sprues on this particular model. It is a really, really lovely model, I've got to say. Other than being basically a good guy's defiler, what is it? What's the background to these Dunecrawlers?
So again, this is quite a disgusting vehicle for the human component to operate. It's crewed by one member of the Vanguard, Skitarii, and one member of the Ranger team, and the Ranger operates the weaponry. Because they're perceived as being better at the kind of long range shooting. The Vanguard are more practical, more kind of manual. What happens to the Vanguard, however, when that Vanguard driver is immersed, because he's immersed in the vehicle, he's immersed in almost like an amniotic containment unit, similar to
the likes of the Titan Legions.
Titan Legions and things. However, this stuff is probably a wee bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
It slowly over time absorbs and kind of melts and draws out all the energy of the Skitarii Vanguard until he just becomes part of the icky soup mixture.
And then they plop another one in,
and then they throw another one in.
No!
So it's very gross, it's very disgusting.
What were they, do we know what they were originally purposed for?
They were originally called a mule, and they were used to travel across the large sort of
expanses of Mars.
Mars. Because traditionally, when Mars was first sort of settled, it was kind of it was similar to kind of desert nomads.
Yeah.
Traveling in huge caravans, and this was one of the uses for the Dunecrawler. However, then it was adapted. They stuck some big weapons on it. They put a big pot of primordial ooze in it for the driver to go in, and that's how it kind of developed into a weapon.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about his stat line. Okay, so he's weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 4, strength 5. Armor wise, he's 12 on the front and side and 11 on the rear. Initiative 2, attacks 1, hull points 3. Vehicle walker, and wargear wise, this is where it's going to start getting interesting now. So he has an eradication beamer. Remember, he's rocking in at 90 points, and you could have another 2 at 90 points per model. But on 72, we have the eradication beamer. And a shot from an eradication beamer has a different profile depending on how far the target is from the firer. If it's fired at between 9 and 36 inches. The profile used is based on the distance to the central hole of the blast marker when it is placed before rolling for scatter. If it's not clear which of the profiles to use, the controlling player can choose. So, 0 to 9 inches, strength 10, AP 1, heavy 1. Yes, that's quite nice. If you can get them up and among the vehicles, you can start to chip away at them a bit with that. Between 9 and 18 inches, it's strength 8, AP 3, heavy 1, blast. What's the difference in effects there between that and the previous one? Really,
at that stage, you're looking at what you're targeting. As you said, the strength 10 AP 1 is a great weapon against vehicles. Be alright chipping wounds away from a monstrous creature or something like that there, but really it is better for a vehicle because you've got more option for effect.
Yeah.
Taking a wound off a monstrous creature,
that's
unless it's his last wound, isn't a huge issue.
Yeah. This is your kind of thing that if you get within 9 inches of a Chaos Land Raider or something like that, this is the kind of weapon I would imagine that you want to start trying to move up towards it.
Yeah,
so.
very, very much so. The other effect,
strength 8, AP 3, heavy 1, blast.
That's probably better suited towards the likes of heavy infantry. The other thing is strength 8, you're probably still going to get an instant kill on Space Marine Captain, something like that there. And the difference there is also that how blast weaponry works over a single heavy 1 shot. You're not rolling to hit with a single dice, you're rolling the scatter dice there. So firing that at a unit is much more likely to hit it. The bigger the vehicle, if you're using it against the vehicle, there's no reason why you couldn't. It's just not as effective as the strength 10 AP 1.
Yeah. But you get to be twice the distance away, which is...
But you do get to be twice the distance away.
Then if you're within 18 to 36 inches, it's strength 6, AP 5, heavy 1, large blast. So same thing again, bigger blast area, but just not quite as potent. Would that be good against orcs?
Great against orcs, great against guard.
Nids,
providing they have lots of gribblies running around. And generally not too bad at even the likes of Space Marines. you're not taking away their save, but you might be inflicting a large amount of
damage to them. Because
of
it's that
damage.
large blast is interesting because it means that it's. We'll talk about it more in XLBS, but it seems to be one of those units that its purpose changes as the game goes on, potentially, or you can have some flexibility in its role. By being very cautious, or not cautious, but very specific with the type of movement that you make with it.
And even Strength 6, you're still wounding a Tactical Marine, a Toughness 4 miniature on 2s, so it's still not a bad way to force a lot of saves.
Okie dokie. That's this book, okay? So let's have a look at the Cult Mechanicus. Now, they don't get any fast attack options,
No fast
do they?
attack options, no.
They get a single heavy support option, which is the absolutely incredible Kastelan Robot Maniples. So let me get you a little bit closer in till you see those guys. That's them there. Danger, Will Robinson! Danger! Right. What is the background to these guys?
So these guys are part...
They found them on Mars, didn't they? They were dropped off by the Martians, and they found them, and they've cared for them, and they keep them as pets. Is that basically it?
Very much so. That's definitely, they're just pets. I would say the Datasmith that's in charge of this unit might very much see them as pets, or maybe he just doesn't care because he has no feeling or emotion on the matter.
Now, there's no AI in the Imperium, is there?
No AI.
Right. The Imperium shouldn't have robots.
No.
But here they are.
They kind of get around this. There's a very small amount of biodata that's programmed into each one. It's sort of like almost like a punch card slot with strands of neural.
It sounds to me it's like the scrapings from the inside of the Dunecrawler, and they've just scraped it out, put it on a credit card, and just slipped it in and said, "There you go, you have a bit of biological oomph in you."
Very much. So. And these guys are controlled by the Datasmith, who they're not necessarily they aren't AI. They're still very much commanded by the Datasmith because he programs the protocols that go into. A bit like, you know those toys you used to get when you were, maybe you didn't have, maybe I'm just kind of weird, but you used to get these wee discs, then you put it into a machine and you turned it and it made a song.
Yes, yeah.
Was that,
yeah.
You know, like
I remember the wee colored discs. Like it was like a little record player, and you wind it up and it ding, 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 ding. So these guys have, it looks to me, because I'm looking at the book, it looks to me like you kind of program these guys then, because they have their own what's called the Castellan Battle Protocols. Can I read this paragraph out? So, Castellan Battle Protocols always begin the game with the Aegis Protocol active. I'll come to that. You can select a new battle protocol at the end of any of your turns, so long as the Castellan Robot Maniple has a Cybernetica Datasmith in the unit. However, the new battle protocol does not become active until the start of your next turn. The unit's current battle protocol remains active until then. When a new battle protocol becomes active at the start of your turn, it immediately replaces the former battle protocol special rules. Okay, this is going to be one of those moments where I'm going to ask the design team, why did you not just have them choose a battle protocol at the start of their turn? Why go to all that hassle if they choose it at the end of their turn, but it remains in play until the start of the turn? Why not just choose it at the start of the turn?
It makes it a little bit more tricky to use, I think.
Oh, they're trying to force us to make mistakes, guys.
I think they're kind of saying you can have these awesome rules, but you'll have to think about them a wee bit. Obviously, the great thing is that it does start with probably a very useful one to start with.
Let's see. It kicks off. It has that Aegis protocol. All Castellan robots in the unit have the Feel No Pain special rule. What kind of effect will that give them? What benefit will Feel No Pain give to these guys?
So Feel No Pain is a 5-up sort of extra after save. I'll just talk a wee bit about Feel No Pain first. Feel No Pain starts off at a 5+. And that's the kind of, if there's no kind of number beside it.
There's no modifier.
There's no modifier. It's just a 5-up kind of save. So you would take your normal saves if you're allowed them. And then on top of that, if you fail that save, then you can make your feel no pain save.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a double save. The only thing is that if you have suffered a wound that causes instant death or is double your toughness, you cannot
use your normal
cannot
save.
use your feel no pain save.
Oh, you can't use your feel no pain
You can't
save
use your
either.
feel no pain save because you've suffered too much pain.
Okay.
Or you've just been blown apart. The great thing about the robots is that they are toughness 7. So you can never, the maximum strength of a weapon in 40k is 10, so you will never be able to negate that feel no pain save.
You can never double it.
Because you can never.
You would have to have a strength of 14. Yeah. I'll give you the stat line before. No, I'll not. I'll just stick with the protocols. The Conqueror Protocol, all Kastelan robots in the unit double their attacks characteristic. Their attacks is 2+ as standard, but cannot make shooting attacks of any kind. So you put that protocol in at the end of the turn when you believe at the beginning of the next turn you're going to go into assault.
Yeah.
I'm getting the hang of this. And then you have the Protector Protocol. All Kastelan robots in the unit can fire their carapace-mounted weapons twice, but cannot move under any circumstances. So you put that on at the end of the turn, at which, at the beginning of the next turn, you want to fire twice, but not move. Well, I'm looking forward to the backstage show where we can talk specifically about why you would use that. Their stat lines are Weapon Skill 3, Ballistic Skill 3, Strength 6, Toughness 7, which is great, 3 wounds, Initiative 2, Attacks 2, Leadership 7, and it's got a standard 3+ save. So a 3+ save and a 5+ feel no pain. Where did they come from? So continuing with our narrative, we now know that the Datasmith basically has to say, on the next turn you're going to do this, don't forget to do it, by the way. So
they very much come out of that Cybernetica, Adeptus Cybernetica part of the Adeptus Mechanicus, which is very much focused on automatons, kind of battle servitors, those kind of things that are kind of created to become functional rather than, anything else. They kind of have their origins in that kind of Horus Heresy period. Where...
Well, they do have a pre-heresy look about them, though, don't they?
Yeah, definitely.
So you can begin to see why they might be the shape that they are. So this makes them very, very old machines. Then are they as revered as some of the old, the real venerable dreadnoughts or the old?
Definitely. When you look at how kind of what massive lengths that Space Marine chapters will go to just to reclaim the lost Terminator armor or a lost dreadnought sarcophagus. This is very much the same. The Skitarii and the Cult Mechanicus will do whatever they can to reclaim their lost Kastelan robots. Interestingly, there's a page in the Cult Mechanicus Codex which shows you a variety of different color schemes for more ancient versions of these Castellan.
So these are ones that are going
right the way back to the Horus Heresy. Now, in the sort of fluff, it explains that sometimes these are kind of one-offs, part of units that have been completely destroyed.
Would you want to pick out a couple and describe them there?
Well, they all kind of have their own sort of background story.
Yeah. So let me see. So this guy here is the Verge Rombor, the Giant of Destgrad 9. And this guy here is the 8th Maniple of the Vitruvian Honor Cohort. So if we're playing with these guys, we can really start to meet it up for these guys in terms of creating specific backstories. You could even have had them, start to think in terms of, if you've read the Horus Heresy series, which I highly recommend if you haven't, you can start to link some of your army back to that time. And that's a really cool thing to do in the whole 40k thing at the moment. You know, we're all into the heresy period. We're all into our 30k. This army starts to give you some stuff that you can really kind of throw back and say that comes from the Horus heresy. It was on or near Istvan 9 or something like that, and start to really tie it in to the narrative and give your army, I don't know, just a little bit more kind of narrative oomph.
Yeah, and it's always nice to have that real depth behind your army, isn't it?
Yeah.
I always find that when you have something that you're actually fighting for, it makes it a more enjoyable game. It makes it more nail biting, and if you've cared and loved for your robots maybe a little too much, then you're worried you're gonna feel their loss, or you're gonna celebrate with them as well.
Yeah.
What's interesting about these guys is that these guys are almost like ghost warriors. They appear in the battle manifest before a big battle, somewhat in a similar way to the likes of the Legion of the Damned, only maybe not as spectacularly.
So they're not arriving in flames. Okay.
but they essentially show up in the manifest. The tech priest goes, okay, I'll take an extra one. And then after that, they disappear again, and nobody knows where they are quite coming or going from. You know, so it's interesting.
That's really Spinal Tap, man. You know, it's like
It is, yeah.
nobody knows where they're from and nobody knows where they're going.
It is.
There's a lot of that in 40k. It's nice to see that it made it into this as well. You know, it's that whole just they're cool, but you never know why. Let me go back because I want to talk a little bit about the weapons that they have on offer. So. Obviously, there's two profiles involved here. I'll just bring it up. So you have the wargear for the Datasmith and the wargear for the robot itself. So the Datasmith has Artificer Armor, which is on page 76. So it's probably worth having a quick look at that. It's probably one of these armors that's just going to say, and that's what gives you your 3+ save. So... or your 2+ save. Artificer Armor 76.
It's the same as what the Dominus has.
Yep, Artificer Armor, and of course, Artificer Armor confers a 2+ save. Okay, so that's it. What is Artificer Armor, by the way? For us interested in the background of it.
So it's kind of like it's very similar to Power Armor, except that it's made in a much more ornate way.
It's an excuse to go to town on your painting, is it?
Yeah, it's imbued with love and intention from the creator of the armor, and it's almost like the same way you've got a mastercrafted weapon. It's almost like the mastercrafted power armor equivalent of the. So it's designed specifically for its wearer. It's much more.
Ornate.
I don't know if those guys care about being comfortable.
Well, let me show you what he's wearing there, so as you can see it. So here he is. In his Artificer Armor. So really, from a narrative perspective, you know, he's a special guy. He's carrying a gamma pistol, which is range 12, strength 6, AP2. I like that AP2. Type pistol and armor bane. Can you describe what Armor Bane does again? Yeah,
so yesterday we looked at Flesh Bane. And Flesh Bane is obviously designed to kind of counter the meat bags, the foot soldiers, and the like. Armor Bane is much more designed to counter vehicles. It's known particularly when you look at the likes of melta-guns and things like that there.
Yeah.
I'll just read you the Armor Bane rule. If a model has this special rule, or is attacking with a melee weapon that has this special rule, it rolls an additional d6 for armor penetration in close combat. If a model makes a shooting attack with a weapon that has this special rule, it rolls an additional d6 for armor penetration. In either case, this special rule has no effect against non-vehicle models. So it is designed for anti-vehicle. So that would mean that, sorry, what was the strength of the gamma?
The strength of the gamma pistol is strength 6.
Strength 6. So you would get strength 6 against the vehicle, and then you would roll 2d6 to match the armor value. So on 2d6, you would actually only need an 8 to go up against an armor 14 Land Raider.
Yeah.
To get a glance.
Oh, that's really good. That's actually really, really quite good.
So if you only had if you only had 1d6, you wouldn't be able to do it. But if you had 2d6, you'd be much more likely.
Yeah.
Plus, if it's AP2,
it is.
AP2 against vehicles also gives you +1 to the damage chart, and AP1 gives you +2 to the damage chart.
Yeah.
So that means you're more likely to get that explodes result, which is all important. Now explodes used to be on a 6.
Yeah.
Now it's actually on a 7+. So unless you have a modifier to the chart, you can't get an explode result. On
right. So you need to have that AP2 or AP1. AP2 you need to roll a 6, and you can get it becomes a 7, so you get the explodes.
Yeah.
AP1 you need to roll a 5+. You add the 2 and it gets explodes. Okay. He also has the refractor field, which is on page 77 in the special issue wargear. And the refractor field confers a 5+ invulnerable save. So he's got his 3+ save and a 5+ invulnerable save.
2+ save?
Sorry, 2+ save. Yeah, so he's got a 2+ save and a 5+ invulnerable save. That's like a Terminator, isn't it, really? Yeah. And he also has the Feel No Pain special rule. Cool. Does that stack, or it's
Feel No Pain? So you would get your you would get either your normal save.
So you get
or
your 2+ save. Let's say for some obscure reason you failed it. Okay. You then, which do you do? Feel No Pain or invulnerable?
So your Feel No Pain, your invulnerable and your standard save work at the same time. So if you rolled, if you were being fired at by a gamma pistol, you would not get your standard save, but you would still be able to take your invulnerable save. Right.
Okay.
The Feel No Pain then happens after that. So if I think he's toughness 4, isn't he?
Yep.
Yep. So he would still get his Feel No Pain against a strength 6 gamma pistol. So he would get the 5-up. So he'd get a 5-up chance with his invulnerable save, and then he would get a 5-up Feel No Pain.
If he was shot with something and he got his normal 2+ save and he failed it, would he then get his Feel No Pain save?
He would still get his Feel No Pain save.
Okay.
Provided it wasn't strength 8 and above.
Yeah.
Because that would negate his Feel No Pain.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Okay. He's also got a Power Fist, which what exactly does Power Fist do in close combat now?
So Power Fists are counted as unwieldy weapons. Obviously, they're slow, cumbersome. So that makes you initiative 1. However, you do get to double your strength, which is always good. I think that brings him up to strength 8.
Yep. Because he's strength 4 is standard.
So that brings him up to strength 8, and he also is then AP2 as well in combat. Which is
so he's quite tasty in combat then, ish.
He's not a slouch, not whenever you consider who's going into combat with him.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. Well, let's talk about the robots. So the robots have the Castellan Battle Hide, which is on page 76, and it's what gives them their 3+ save. They've got a carapace mounted Sydonian Combustor. Sounds like flames to me. Now, the Sydonian Combustor is a template weapon. Strength 4, AP 5, Assault 1, Torrent. Now, what is Torrent? I've never heard of the Torrent rule
Torrent
before.
is a cool little rule. It's kind of only come about in the last couple of editions. It started being used, I believe, by the Space Marines with their Land Raider Redeemer variant. And it's quite cool. Basically, way back in the old days, we used to have flamers that you had to place on the end of the nozzle of the gun, and that was the distance the flamer got to shoot.
Yeah.
Torrent gives you a little bit of range to your flamer. So Torrent gives you, I'll read it out for you here. A weapon with this special rule is treated like any other template weapon, but when firing it in the shooting phase, place the template weapon so that the narrow end is within 12 inches of the weapon, and the wide end is no closer to the weapon than the narrow end. Okay, so that means that you could...
So you get an extra 12-inch range on a flamer.
Actually, I think it was the Hellhound maybe had it first.
And you can also, by the sounds of that, put it almost sideways.
Yeah, as long as the narrow end is the closest bit. then you can have.
Oh, that's so cheesy. I love that.
So you can shoot units around corners.
Can you shoot? Ooh, ooh. Oh, what a really cool weapon.
Plus, because it's flamer, it also denies their cover save.
Yeah. Now, these guys have 2 power fists as well. So they've got that shoulder-mounted and send-down combustor, and they've got 2 power fists. Now, they're strength 6 normally. Does that mean that that's strength 12?
Strength 10.
It never goes above 10.
It never goes above 10.
Yeah.
But still, strength 10, you can't go too far wrong with strength 10.
They're going to squish things if they go into close combat.
Yeah.
But the fact is, do they get to shoot that flamer before they go in?
They do get to shoot the flamer first, because it's an assault weapon, I think. Even if it's not, they're monstrous creatures, so they get to fire and then assault.
Yeah. Now, let me just get my head around this. So you're facing off against the unit. You maybe have, well, for 290 points, you've got 2 of these guys and the Datasmith. Not going to worry about the Datasmith. He can take care of himself.
He's all right, yeah.
These guys get to shoot, and it's not just flamer from the end of the gun. You can actually start to be cheesy and kind of rotate the flamer to get maximum coverage, okay? The flamer itself, on page 74, is strength 4, AP 5, right? So it's not the strongest
No, it's a
weapon
standard.
in that,
It's a standard
in that
flamer.
sense. So, what does that mean? What's your typical Space Marine going to be saving on?
So he'll be saving on a tactical marine will still be saving on his 3-up armor.
And what am I wounding on with the likes of that?
You'd be wounded on 4s.
Okay, and it hits automatically.
It hits automatically.
Right, so there's no to hit, wounding on 4s, and he's saving on his 3+? Yeah. Okay.
They do have an option to swap to the heavy phosphor cannon.
Well, let's talk about that. So any Kastelan robot may replace both power fists with a twin-linked heavy phosphor blaster. 10 points. Okay. Page 75. The phosphor. Now, this is the phosphor blaster. Range 24 inches. Strength 5, AP 4, rapid fire, luminogen. Okay. Now, luminogen. We talked about this with the Serpenta before, but luminogen, a unit that suffers 1 or more unsaved wounds, glancing or penetrating hits caused by a weapon with this special rule, counts its cover saves as being 1 point worse than normal until the end of the phase. Furthermore, units can re-roll the dice to determine their charge range against the afflicted unit until the end of the turn. So there's a really interesting weapon specifically designed to help them get into close combat where they can start to squish with them power fists.
Very much, however.
Well, actually, but they lose the power fists, so I'd give it to one guy and keep the power fists on the other guy.
Well, interestingly, I actually really like the heavy phosphor cannon. I think what's great about the heavy phosphor cannon over the
Heavy phosphor blaster.
Oh, sorry, my mistake. heavy phosphor blaster.
Yeah.
Is that it provides more of that synergy with other units in the codex, because not only are you getting -1 to the cover save for yourself,
it's for anybody else.
It's for anybody else.
So.
Plus, if we consider that charge range, if you have someone else who wants to charge, then you can give them that bonus by firing that unit as well. So it's not only for yourself to get into combat, it's for other units to as well. It's kind of like laser tagging them up.
Okay, last special rule I want to talk about before we move on to the XLBS version of this show, where we're going to be talking about all of their kind of roles on the battlefield, their deployment and everything else, is the repulsor grid. Okay, Kastelan robots have a 5+ invulnerable save against shooting attacks. Furthermore, each time a Kastelan robot is targeted by a shooting attack and passes a saving throw of any kind on the roll of a 6, the shot is deflected. If a shot is deflected, the unit that fires it suffers an immediate hit resolved with the strength AP value and special rules of the hit that was originally allocated to the Kastelan robot. So if he deflects a strength 10 AP1 laser shot, it hits the oh dear. A repulsor grid cannot deflect blast or template weapons or psychic shooting attacks. So it really is those shots. So every time you think that you're putting something heavy on him, there is a chance, a slight chance, it's a roll of a 6, but there is a chance that that's going to come back and hit you.
Now again, it's not the biggest chance in the world.
It's still there,
but
isn't
it's
it?
there, and it's always going to be in your opponent's mindset.
Do you know what the problem is with that? Remembering it.
Yeah.
Remembering to do it is going to be the problem.
Write it on the back of the base.
Yeah. 6s bounce back. Okay, guys. Look, that about wraps it up for these guys. Come on over to beastsofwar.com. We have a 7-day free trial for new backstagers. We're going to be talking about the battlefield roles of these guys. We're going to be talking about how we would deploy them. We're going to talk about their option selects, which I've discussed earlier on, and some of the out-of-the-box builds options that they have. And then finally round out with the optimum use of each of them as well. So, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure presenting this stuff to you guys. AJ, thank you, mate, for taking me through it. I'm having an absolute blast this week getting to grips with the Mechanicus. What a superb army. Yeah, come across to beastsofwar.com, join up with the backstagers, and we'll be waiting for you over there. The Ballistarii, okay, I think we just like their base. They either come with that twin-linked Cognis autocannon, or you change to that twin-linked Cognis las cannon. Now this is going to be depending on the meta that you face in your local gamer groups, really. So if you've got guys that are fond of their armor, you've got Imperial Guard guys that love all their tanks, Space Marine guys that are rolling out Land Raiders and things like that, it may well be worth going with the last cannons in that instance. What do you think?
It's time for 28mm World War II action. Will you recreate history or reshape it your way? On the Bolt Action Hub at beastsofwar.com. Enter into the dangerous dungeons of myth as a mighty hero and stand against the darkness. Visit the Myth Hub on beastsofwar.com and begin your story.